Today I'm going to discuss something that I think a lot of people need to know, and that is regarding YouTube build lists. I'm not talking about like the PC build guides that will show you how to build their PC, but the ones that give you parts and give you peripherals, things like that. For example, a title like 1500 Gaming Stream PC, something like that. I would never ever follow any of those guides, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, the reason that I would never ever recommend any of those videos is because prices change, stock changes, prices change, there are new parts that get released, and not just on a monthly basis, on a daily basis. So one part that costed $80 one day could cost $70 the next day. One part that costed $280 one day could cost $300 the next day. You never know. And just in general, a lot of YouTube build guides use sketchy parts or just have general terrible build lists. So for example, the most common part that I will see that's just kind of cheaped out on, I know this is kind of overused, is don't cheap out on your PSU. But what people really get wrong is that it's technically okay to cheap out on your PSU to a certain extent. There are a lot of PSUs that are considered budget that are actually kind of decent. But a lot of these build lists use things like thermaltake smart 500 watt power supplies, which are like 40 to 50 bucks. You can pretty much get no good power supplies, especially in this state, and you haven't been able to for like a year. You can't get a decent power supply for 40 bucks. That's just not possible, at least new. Not only that, a lot of these build lists will use things like Ryzen 5 3600X, which generally isn't worth buying over a Ryzen 5 3600. Or they'll say, get a 3700X for gaming because you want those extra threads, it'll pay off in terms of performance. Or, hey, you need 3600 megahertz RAM, you need 3200 megahertz RAM, you need these fast RAM speeds in order to get good frame rates, and that's just simply not true. Now, a lot of them can also use bad SSDs, something like a Kingston A400. A lot of them can have bad CPU and GPU pairing, so something like a Ryzen 5 3600 and like, you know, an RX 570. That's just not optimal. In that case, you would want to go for something that's a little more balanced. You want to get a cheaper CPU and then a better graphics card, assuming you're going to want to game. So it's little things like that. There are pairings, there are prices, and then there are just plain bad choices. Now, what about the good ones? The good ones can often become outdated in just a few days, as I mentioned before. Stock changes, price changes, new parts get released. It's not uncommon to see a price change drastically over the course of a few days, even just in a day. So a lot of these build guides that are actually decent will become outdated in a few days. Okay, so where should you go to get build lists? Well, it might be a little easier to tell you where you shouldn't go first. Obviously, YouTube. YouTube you should just not go to in the first place. Reddit is another one that I would definitely not recommend you go to. I've been on the PC build list recommendation subreddits. They're all bad. They pretty much emulate the same sort of lists that you will see on YouTube. Bad power supplies. They claim you need a certain RAM speed. They claim that AMD is better. They claim all these things that just aren't true. And a lot of them just end up reflecting in their builds. And then you, the end user, if you're asking people for a build, you're going to end up paying for those things. And then you're going to realize, wow, I shouldn't have trusted them. I made a mistake. So Reddit is just as awful. And even when you try to correct them, a lot of people will just fight back and say, it's okay, it's good enough, it's whatever, to, you know, try to prove their point. So where should you go? One really great resource is the Build a PC Discord. I have been on there for about 1 or 2 years, and I can say without a doubt that it's the best place to get build lists. I will warn you, although the build lists are amazing, they're probably some of the best I've ever seen. People there tend to know their stuff, assuming you're talking to the right people. Obviously anyone can talk on the server and give advice, but there are a lot of people who will constantly be monitoring, looking through lists, people who are more experienced, so that way you know that you're getting good things. I will warn you that if you are on the server and you don't know what you're talking about, or you say something that kind of triggers the chat, they will start to become a little toxic. It is a toxic server, but it is some of the best help that I've personally received, and I've also been able to witness as well as give out. So I would recommend the Build a PC Discord. I will leave a link to that in the description below. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Thumbs up if you enjoyed, down if you didn't. Subscribe for more tech content. Follow me on Twitter at RealBrandonYan for news, announcements, giveaways, and more. Follow me on Twitch at ProximityPlays_ for various games, Overwatch, Apex, Valorant, Minecraft, etc., as well as PC discussion, PC building, keyword building, and the likes. Thanks for watching.